Another thing I get very, very pedantic about is how you define the risk in the first place. So the language about how you define the risk is really important, and it's the first column if you're still on a column per page, but it's so important. If you get that right, the rest of it flows really well. So for example, I personally don't think Brexit is the right thing to have on a risk map. You have to have in that risk column, you have to have what is the harm to our organisation. Brexit is a trigger. It could be a trigger for all sorts of things, half of which we might not even know what they are, but it could be a trigger for escalating costs because of exchange rate effects, or it could be a trigger for real problems in the labour market because of people not being able to come to this country or being dissuaded from coming to this country to work. It could be a trigger for house price falls. It could be a trigger. It's a trigger, but I'm not sure it's a risk. I think government policy, I often see government policy on risk maps. Just, no more detail than that, just government policy. And that's a ripple, that's a memory from that budget in July 2015 when the rents were cut for 4 years running. And I can see where it's coming from. But again, government policy is what's the harm that would happen to this organisation is that our income could be cut. And how can we control for that is about income collection, but it's also about reducing costs. And then if you get the definition of the risk right, then the controls are much easier to define, and it's much easier to say, are those controls really controlling that risk? And it's pretty hard to think of some controls for Brexit right now. So it's real precision in how do we define the risk to our organisation is a really important thing in this whole process, I think.